So I got this PC for free because I did someone a favor, they were really happy and they decided to thank me by giving me their old PC that they didn't need anymore. But what is inside and does it even work at all? Let's take a look. Alright, so what do we have here? Some old motherboard, a stock looking cooler, a weak PSU, a hard drive, and of course a GPU with... Jesus, what on earth is that? Let me just unscrew that and see what we're dealing with here. So it seems that we have a Molex fan attached to the GPU with 2 screws shoved into the heatsink, and then we have a really poor application of silicon here. Also, the wires coming out of the fan seem to be just shoved into this Molex connector, which is fine, but again, this is an extremely janky solution. Oh, and I almost forgot, the I/O bracket of this GPU is barely being held by a single standoff of this DVI port. So yeah, at this point you can probably tell that this GPU has gone through quite a lot. By the way, let me just remove this fan because it keeps distracting me by how janky it is. Alright, so let's see if I can figure out what model is this GPU. If we go by the label at the back of the PCB, this should be some kind of RX 1550 with either 512 or 256 MB of VRAM, and it seems to be made by MSI. Pretty interesting. Let's see what else we have here. A gigabyte and a 2 GB stick of DDR2 RAM. Nothing too impressive, but I honestly wasn't expecting more than 1 GB RAM stick per channel. Either way, I'm gonna put this back, but I wonder what kind of CPU we have here. Let's start by unscrewing the cooler. Okay, so it seems that the thermal paste is drier than the Sahara Desert. Let me just get a paper towel to clean this all up and see if we can identify the CPU. So it seems to be a Core 2 Duo E5300. Pretty ancient if you ask me, but I honestly cannot complain since I got all this completely for free. It's an LGA 775 platform, by the way, which means that we have some kind of upgrade path in case we decide to upgrade the CPU. But until that, let's apply some fresh GD900 thermal paste and screw this cooler back on. As for the PSU, it seems to only have like 144 watts on the 12 volt rail, which is honestly lower than what we see on modern office PSUs nowadays. By the way, I'm just gonna remove this fan from the Molex cable, cause it's honestly way too janky for me to deal with. And then let's put our GPU back in and see if we can power the PC. Fingers crossed here because I don't even know if it's gonna work at all. I mean, it's not like I was promised that everything was gonna just work, you know? Okay, so fingers crossed, let's see if it even powers on. Okay, so it seems that the PC turns on, but I'm not seeing any lights on the mouse or the keyboard and we're not getting any display on the screen either. Let me just turn it off real quick and see if resetting the RAM makes any difference. Alright, attempt number 2. Hey, we finally got a post. Let's go into the BIOS and see what we're dealing with. Yeah, I mean everything seems to be pretty standard. Good old school BIOS right there. And here's our CPU, by the way, Pentium E5300, which I thought was a Core 2 Duo, but I guess it doesn't really matter since all of the dual-core CPUs of this era are pretty much useless today. Let's see if the hard drive has an operating system on it. Okay, it seems that we are on Windows 7, but why is it in Russian? I was honestly expecting like Windows XP or something, but I'll take it. The newer the better. After all, Windows 7 was my favorite operating system for the longest time. By the way, I'm gonna blur out some of the files here because it seems that the previous user left their photos and whatnot on the desktop. But yeah, I mean, the PC is working impressively well actually. way better than what I initially expected. But I do wonder if I can actually install Windows 10 here, because I remember when I was messing with old LGA 775 systems, some of them just wouldn't let me install Windows 10 on them no matter what. Hopefully, we don't come across any of those issues today. Okay, so fast forward a few hours. I had some lunch and we're pretty much ready to continue the journey. Here's my USB thumb drive with Windows 10 on it, and yeah, let's go.
A few moments later.
Wow, I can't believe it, we're actually installing Windows 10 on this, what, like 18-year-old PC? This is honestly really impressive to me. I didn't expect this many things to go right. I mean, yeah, it is actually working without a problem.
Five minutes later.
I hate hard drives, man. I really do not miss them a single bit.
20 minutes later.
Jesus, okay, finally, we made it to the desktop. It only took like, what, 35 minutes? I honestly lost the count, but yeah, I'm gonna install the drivers, wait for another hour or 2 or 3, and come back to you guys once everything's done. Okay, so a quick update on the matter. I actually cannot find any drivers for this GPU, and Windows wouldn't install the basic driver on its own either. So I'm pretty much stuck here. I've honestly been looking on the internet for hours now, and because of how old this GPU is, the drivers just do not exist anymore, it seems. I don't know what I was expecting, and by the way, if we don't have any drivers for the GPU, we won't be able to open any apps or games, like at all. So I did the next best thing. I removed the GPU altogether. And did you guys know, by the way, that back in the day we used to have the integrated graphics on the motherboard as opposed to the CPU? But anyhow, I'm gonna go and clean this OS from the bloatware, uninstall everything that we don't need, disable all the useless background apps, and pretty much prepare the PC for gaming. After all, you guys wanna see if this PC can actually game, right? Alright, let's begin with something simple. Minecraft. By the way, I'm gonna be capturing my screen with a camera because I don't know a single capture card that can capture an iGPU through a DVI port from a 20-year-old motherboard, so I do apologize for the poor quality. Anyhow, when I tried to launch the latest version of Minecraft, it gave me an error and just wouldn't open no matter what I did. And I did a lot, cause I tried the oldest version, then I tried multiple semi-older ones, but in the end, I still couldn't get it to work. Let's see if we have better luck with Terraria. By the way, I'm gonna be using this Steam overlay to monitor our FPS in the top left corner. And it seems that this game is running shockingly well, considering that we're gaming on nearly a 20-year-old iGPU. For the settings, I just disabled everything except the background and went with 720p resolution, cause I really doubt that we're gonna be able to run it on anything higher than this. So yeah, let's load into a world and see what the performance is like. Oh wow, this is actually playable. Man, I was expecting something like 10 or 15 FPS at best, but this is actually playable. I mean, there are a few stutters here and there, but man, who would have thought that we'd be able to run Terraria on an iGPU from 2007? Before I move on to another game, I just wanna see how bad it is at 1080p resolution. Yeah, I mean, the game does look better, but the response time is actually so bad that it's actually unplayable now. Alright, I'm gonna close this game and let's see if we're gonna be able to run Bloons TD6 on this ancient PC.
5 minutes later.
Jesus, it actually took 5 whole minutes to open the game. I'm not having high hopes right now, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, it doesn't even let me lower the resolution, you guys. I guess we're stuck with 1080p? Fingers crossed here, because it's already looking bad and I hope the in-game performance is a bit better.
A few moments later.
Yeah, no, it's actually pretty terrible, and I haven't even started the round yet. I mean, at least the game works. Okay, in all fairness, I'm impressed that we're even able to open the game at all. Let's see if we're gonna be able to run Half-Life 2 on this PC. And I know this might be a bit too much, but I'm really curious to see just how bad it'll actually be. Okay, like 3 FPS on the menu screen. That's triple the performance that I was honestly expecting. By the way, we're running the game on the lowest settings at 720p resolution. But yeah, let's start the campaign and see what the performance is like.
20 minutes later.
This might have been a mistake. It says that we're getting 1 FPS, but realistically we're getting like 0.3 maybe. And yes, we are already in the game, but because of how low the FPS is, I'm not even able to move around. Alright, I'm just gonna shut it down because I don't want this PC to blow up, you know. Okay, so the last game that I wanna test on this PC is Command & Conquer Generals. It's a game that I spent all of my childhood playing, so it'll make me really happy if we can actually run it on this PC. And it seems that we can, which I'm not too impressed by, cause I've tested it on many other just as old hardware and it actually ran without a problem. Mind you, that hardware was a bit better than what we are using right now. But still, the game is pretty old and it's actually really well optimized, so yeah. By the way, what I like to usually do here is that I like to set the graphics to low, then go into my documents, open the options file and manually set the resolution that I want. Now, it might not say that it's running on that specified resolution in-game, but trust me, it is. Anyhow, let's load into a skirmish here and see just how playable the game is gonna be. Yup, so far so good honestly. We're getting a solid 20 to 30 FPS, which by the way used to be quite acceptable back in the day. And it's not like we're losing a whole bunch of performance by not having a dedicated GPU, cause 30 FPS is the actual limit here. If anything, we would be running on a bit higher settings, which would have been better, but honestly, the game is already playable as is. And if I had this kind of PC when I was a kid, I honestly would have been over the moon. The PC that my father had when I was like 10 years old was a Pentium 4. And it wasn't as great. So yeah, treat what you have at the time with respect, because you might be using some 2nd gen i3 system with a 15-year-old GPU. But do also keep in mind that there are actually people out there that would love a PC like that. And before I wrap up the video, I'm curious to know what you guys think I should do with this PC. Should I upgrade it? Should I just give it away? Or would you guys wanna see a part 2 where I get some low-end GPU, put it in and see if we can get better results in games? After all, we are gaming on an iGPU, so I'm really curious about what kind of performance we can get by installing a discrete GPU into this PC. On that note, let's wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.